Ancient samurais carried their swords in complete silence. They never announced every battle they fought. They never displayed every scar they earned. There's a timeless wisdom in this that the modern world has completely forgotten. Right at this moment, you're carrying invisible weights that no one can see. Silent burdens that drain your energy, steal your peace, and prevent you from reaching the most powerful version of yourself. And here's what's most disturbing. You probably don't even realize they're there. Eastern masters discovered centuries ago something that modern psychology is only now beginning to understand. The deepest transformations happen in silence, without spotlights, without social media announcements, without needing anyone's validation. Today I'm going to reveal 7 things you need to eliminate from your life immediately. But here's the secret that changes everything. No one needs to know you're doing this. In fact, the power lies precisely in keeping it silent. 1. The addiction to other people's approval. There's an invisible chain wrapped around your neck, and you've been wearing it for so long that it feels normal. Every time you post something online, you wait. Every time you make a decision, you hesitate. Every time you want to speak your truth, you calculate how others will react first. This isn't living. This is performing. The trap works like this. Someone gives you a compliment and suddenly you feel alive. Someone criticizes you and your entire day crumbles. You've handed over the remote control of your emotions to complete strangers. People who don't pay your bills. People who won't be there when you're struggling at 3 in the morning. People who will forget about you the moment they scroll to the next post. What makes this particularly dangerous is how subtle it becomes. You start making choices not based on what you truly want, but on what will get the best reaction. You pick careers that sound impressive at dinner parties instead of ones that make your soul come alive. You stay in relationships that look good on the surface but feel empty behind closed doors. You dim your light because shining too bright might make others uncomfortable. Here's what the ancient philosophers understood that we've forgotten. When you need everyone to like you, you become no one. You turn into a mirror, constantly reflecting back what others want to see instead of showing who you truly are. And the exhausting part? You can never win this game. Even if 99 people approve of you, that one person who doesn't will haunt your thoughts. The silent elimination starts with a simple awareness. Notice when you're about to do something and catch yourself thinking about how it will be perceived. Notice when you change your opinion in a conversation because you sense disapproval. Notice when you hold back your genuine excitement because you're afraid of seeming too enthusiastic. These moments are everywhere once you start looking. But here's the twist that connects to what comes next. This approval addiction doesn't just affect how you show up in the world. It actually determines who you allow into your inner circle and how much power you give them over your mental state. Because once you start breaking free from needing everyone's validation, you begin to see clearly which relationships actually serve you and which ones are quietly destroying you from the inside. And that realization leads us directly into something even more urgent. 2. The conversations that drain your energy. Speaking of relationships, let's talk about something nobody wants to admit out loud. Right now, there are people in your life who leave you feeling exhausted every single time you interact with them. Not tired in a physical way, but drained in a way that makes you want to crawl into bed and hide from the world. These conversations follow a pattern. The other person talks endlessly about their problems but never actually wants solutions. They complain about the same situations month after month, year after year, but refuse to change anything. Or maybe they're the ones who turn every conversation into a competition, always needing to one-up whatever you share. You mention you're tired, they're more tired. You had a tough week, their week was tougher. You achieved something meaningful, and somehow the conversation shifts back to them within minutes. What's insidious about this is how guilty you feel for even noticing it. These might be family members, childhood friends, colleagues you've known for years. Society tells you that loyalty means enduring these interactions forever, that setting boundaries makes you selfish, that real friends stick around no matter what. But here's the truth nobody mentions. Your energy is not unlimited. Your time on this earth is not infinite. Every hour you spend in a draining conversation is an hour stolen from your own growth, your own peace, your own joy. The really skilled energy vampires know exactly how to keep you hooked. They'll have just enough good moments mixed in with the exhausting ones that you keep hoping things will change. They'll make you feel needed, important, like you're the only one who understands them. And maybe you are. But understanding someone doesn't mean you're obligated to sacrifice your mental health at the altar of their unwillingness to help themselves. Think about your last week. How many conversations left you feeling lighter, inspired, genuinely connected? Now count the ones that left you feeling heavy, frustrated, or emotionally depleted. The ratio tells you everything you need to know. And the scariest part is that these draining interactions don't just affect you in the moment. They seep into your subconscious. They change how you see the world. Spend enough time around people who only focus on problems, and you'll start seeing problems everywhere too. The silent elimination here doesn't mean ghosting people or being cruel. It means becoming intentional about where you invest your emotional energy. It means learning to say no to phone calls that always turn into therapy sessions where you're the unpaid therapist. It means limiting time with people who refuse to take responsibility for their own happiness. And yes, it means accepting that some relationships are meant to fade, not because anyone is bad, but because you're growing in different directions. This process of protecting your energy naturally reveals something else lurking beneath the surface, something that often fuels both the need for approval and the tolerance of draining relationships. 3. The need to always be right. Here's where things get uncomfortable, because this one lives deep in most of us. There's a voice inside that can't let things go. Someone says something factually incorrect, and you feel this burning need to correct them. A friend has a different political view, and instead of listening, you're already preparing your counterargument before they finish speaking. Your partner suggests a different way to handle something, and your first instinct is to explain why your way is better. This need to be right destroys more relationships than most people realize. It kills intimacy. It prevents real connection. Because when you're always in debate mode, always ready to prove your point, always needing to have the last word, you're not actually communicating. You're just waiting for your turn to talk. You're treating conversations like courtroom battles where there's a winner and a loser, instead of opportunities to understand another human being. The roots go deeper than simple ego. Often, this need comes from a place of fear. Fear that if you're wrong about one thing, maybe you're wrong about everything. Fear that admitting you don't know something makes you appear weak or stupid. Fear that changing your mind means you wasted time believing the wrong thing. So you dig in. You defend positions you don't even care about that much just because you stated them out loud, and now your pride is attached. What's tragic is how much wisdom you miss when you're stuck in this pattern. Some of the most valuable insights come from perspectives completely different from your own. But you'll never access them if you approach every disagreement as a threat to your intelligence. The smartest people in history were the ones who remained curious, who could hold their beliefs loosely enough to examine them honestly, who understood that being wrong about something is just the first step to being right about it. Watch what happens in your body the next time someone disagrees with you. Does your chest tighten? Does your face get hot? Do you feel this urgent need to interrupt and correct them? That physical reaction is your ego screaming for protection. It's trying to defend an identity you've built around being smart, being informed, being the one with answers. But that identity is a prison. It keeps you from growing. It keeps you from admitting when you've hurt someone because admitting fault feels like defeat. The silent work here involves catching yourself in these moments. When you feel that urge to correct someone about something that ultimately doesn't matter, pause. Ask yourself, is this really about truth or is it about my ego needing to feel superior? When someone challenges your viewpoint, can you get curious instead of defensive? Can you ask questions to understand their perspective instead of immediately explaining why they're wrong? This shift feels small, but it changes everything about how you move through the world. And interestingly, once you release this exhausting need to always be right, you create space for something even more liberating. You start to let go of the heavy stories you've been carrying about who you are. and what your life means. 4. The ghosts of your past. We carry our history like invisible baggage. That relationship that ended badly 7 years ago still influences how you trust people today. That failure at work still whispers in your ear every time you're about to take a risk. That thing your parents said to you when you were 12 still plays on repeat in your darkest moments. These ghosts don't live in the past. They live in your present, making decisions for you, limiting your choices, keeping you small. The mind is strange. It holds on to painful memories with incredible grip while letting beautiful moments slip away. You can probably recall with perfect clarity every embarrassing thing you've ever done, every mistake, every rejection. But ask yourself to remember 10 moments of pure joy, and you'll struggle. This isn't an accident. Our brains evolved to remember threats, to catalog dangers, to make sure we never get hurt the same way twice. But in the modern world, this survival mechanism becomes a cage. What makes these ghosts so powerful is how they disguise themselves as protection. Your mind tells you that remembering past hurts keeps you safe. If you just stay alert, if you just keep expecting the worst, if you just don't get your hopes up, then you won't be disappointed again. Except, this isn't protection. This is slow death. This is choosing to live in a smaller and smaller box because the world outside once hurt you. The really sneaky ghosts are the ones attached to your identity. Maybe you failed at something once and now, "I'm not good at that," becomes a core belief. Maybe someone betrayed you and now "people can't be trusted" becomes your filter for every new relationship. Maybe you grew up without much money, and even though your situation has changed, you still operate from a mindset of scarcity, unable to enjoy what you have because you're always afraid it'll disappear. These stories feel true because you've repeated them so many times. But here's what the mystics and philosophers have always known. You are not your past. You are not the sum of everything that happened to you. You are the awareness that can choose which stories to keep and which ones to release. Every single moment is a chance to write something new, but you can't do that while clutching onto old chapters with white knuckles. The elimination process here requires honesty that cuts deep. You have to look at the narratives you tell yourself about who you are and ask, is this actually true? Or is this just a story I've been repeating? Is this belief serving me? Or is it keeping me stuck? And the hardest question of all, am I holding onto this pain because letting it go would mean admitting I wasted years of my life being angry or hurt over something I could have released sooner? Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending bad things didn't happen. It means you stop letting those things define your present and dictate your future. It means you acknowledge what happened, extract whatever lesson was buried in the pain, and then refuse to carry it one more step. Because here's the truth. Those people who hurt you have moved on with their lives. That opportunity you missed is long gone. The only person still imprisoned by your past is you. This release creates room for something crucial. Something that might be the most destructive thing on this entire list. 5. The silent comparison with others. This one operates in the shadows. You don't even realize you're doing it most of the time. You scroll through social media, and with each post, there's a tiny calculation happening in your mind. They're more successful. They're better looking. They have a happier relationship. They travel more. They seem more fulfilled. And with each comparison, you shrink a little bit. Your own life starts to feel inadequate, even if nothing actually changed except your perspective. The cruelty of comparison is that it's rigged from the start. You're comparing your messy, complicated, behind-the-scenes reality with everyone else's highlight reel. You're measuring your worth against a curated fiction. And even when you know intellectually that what people show online isn't the full truth, it still affects you. Because the emotional brain doesn't care about logic. It just sees someone else winning and decides you're losing. What makes this particularly toxic in the modern world is the sheer volume of it. Previous generations might compare themselves to neighbors or colleagues, a limited pool of people in similar circumstances. Now you're comparing yourself to millions of people across the entire planet. Someone is always doing better. Someone is always achieving more. Someone is always living the life you think you should have. The goalposts never stop moving, because there's always another level, always another person to envy. But here's what really happens when you live in constant comparison. You lose touch with your own path entirely. You stop asking what you actually want and start chasing what looks impressive. You abandon your unique gifts because they don't seem valuable compared to someone else's talents. You feel behind in a race you never even wanted to run. Your entire life becomes reactive, shaped by an endless attempt to measure up to standards that have nothing to do with who you truly are, or what would genuinely make you happy. The silent elimination of comparison doesn't happen overnight. It requires vigilance because the pattern is so deeply ingrained. It means noticing when you feel that twinge of envy and getting curious about it instead of spiraling. What does that jealousy reveal about what you actually want? Not what you think you should want, but what genuinely calls to you. It means unfollowing accounts that consistently make you feel less than, even if they're not doing anything wrong. It means celebrating others without using their success as a weapon against yourself. It also means getting brutally honest about the fact that someone else's gain is not your loss. Life isn't a pie with limited slices where someone else getting a piece means less for you. Their happiness doesn't diminish your capacity for joy. Their success doesn't block your path forward. These are lies your ego tells you to keep you stuck in scarcity thinking. The truth is that inspiration can flow from seeing others thrive, but only if you stop using their journey as evidence of your inadequacy. The freedom that comes from releasing comparison is profound. Suddenly, you can be genuinely happy for others without that bitter aftertaste. You can pursue goals that matter to you without constantly checking if they're impressive enough. You can appreciate your own progress without needing it to be faster or better than someone else's. You reclaim your energy from the endless, exhausting work of measuring yourself against the world and redirect it toward actually building something meaningful. 6. The excuses you tell yourself. Once you stop comparing yourself to others, something uncomfortable emerges from the shadows. Without external distractions to blame, you're left facing the real obstacle that's been there all along. The stories you tell yourself about why you can't do something. These excuses are so familiar they feel like facts. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I'm not talented enough. I'll start when things calm down. I'll do it next year. I'll begin after this one thing is sorted out. The devastating thing about excuses is how reasonable they sound. They're not obvious lies. They're half-truths wrapped in fear, and that makes them incredibly convincing. Yes, you are busy. Yes, resources might be limited. Yes, circumstances aren't perfect. But here's what your excuses won't tell you. Circumstances are never perfect. There will always be a reason not to start. There will always be an obstacle. There will always be something you can point to as justification for staying exactly where you are. What's really happening beneath these excuses is protection. Your mind is trying to shield you from the possibility of failure, from the discomfort of growth, from the vulnerability of trying something that matters. Because if you never really try, you never really fail. If you keep your dreams safely in the future, they can stay perfect and untarnished. The excuse becomes a shield, but it's also a prison. It keeps you safe and small at the same time. Think about that thing you've been saying you'll do for years. Write that book. Start that business. Learn that skill. Have that difficult conversation. Change that situation. Now think about all the reasons you've given yourself for not doing it yet. How many of those reasons are still valid? How many have you been recycling year after year? How many are actually just fear wearing a more acceptable costume? The tricky part is that excuses multiply. You start with one, and when that one gets weak, your mind generates another. And another. It's like playing a game with your own resistance. You solve the time problem, suddenly there's a money problem. You solve the money problem, suddenly you need more skills. You get the skills, suddenly the timing isn't right. Your brain is incredibly creative when it comes to keeping you stuck. But here's where it gets really painful. Every day you spend making excuses is a day you'll never get back. Every year you postpone your dreams is a year older you'll be when you finally start, if you ever do. And the saddest part isn't even the things you don't accomplish. It's the person you don't become. It's the confidence you don't build. It's the growth you don't experience. It's the life you don't live because you were too busy explaining to yourself why you couldn't. The silent elimination of excuses requires brutal self-honesty. You have to catch yourself and ask the hard question, is this actually true or is this just fear talking? And even if it's partially true, is it insurmountable or is it just uncomfortable? Because discomfort and impossibility are not the same thing, even though your mind treats them as identical. When you eliminate excuses, you eliminate the last barrier between you and your own potential. And that's terrifying, because now there's nobody left to blame. Not your circumstances, not other people, not bad timing or bad luck, just you and your choices. Which brings us to the final thing you must eliminate. 7. The noise that drowns out your inner voice. After stripping away the approval addiction, the draining conversations, the need to be right, the ghosts of your past, the constant comparisons and all those convenient excuses, you finally arrive at the core. And what you find there is silence, real silence, the kind that terrifies most people. Because in that silence you can finally hear yourself, and for many that voice has been buried for so long under layers of noise that they don't even recognize it anymore. The noise comes from everywhere. Your phone buzzing every few minutes, the television running in the background, music in your headphones during every commute, podcasts while you cook, social media while you eat. You've become so afraid of quiet that you fill every single gap with sound, with distraction, with anything that keeps you from sitting alone with your own thoughts. And you tell yourself it's about staying informed, staying entertained, staying connected. But really it's about staying away from yourself. What are you running from? What truth might surface if you sat in complete silence for even 10 minutes? What dreams have you ignored? What pain have you avoided processing? What decisions have you been postponing? The noise isn't just external, it's internal too. It's the constant mental chatter, the endless worrying, the repetitive thoughts that loop through your mind like a broken record. It's the voice that criticizes everything you do, that second guesses every choice, that keeps you trapped in analysis instead of action. Ancient practices understood something we've forgotten. Meditation wasn't invented as a relaxation technique. It was a tool for cutting through the noise to access deeper wisdom. The monks who sat in silence for hours weren't trying to escape life. They were trying to find it. They knew that truth doesn't shout, it whispers. And you can't hear a whisper in the middle of chaos. Your inner voice knows things your conscious mind doesn't. It knows when a relationship is wrong, even if everything looks good on paper. It knows when a job is killing your soul, even if the paycheck is impressive. It knows what you truly want versus what you think you should want. But you'll never access that knowing if you keep drowning it out with constant stimulation. The elimination here is perhaps the most challenging, because the noise has become your normal. Silence feels uncomfortable, even threatening. Your mind will generate anxiety to fill the void. You'll feel restless, like you should be doing something, checking something, consuming something. This is withdrawal. You've been addicted to distraction, and like any addiction, breaking free requires sitting through the discomfort. Start with small pockets of quiet. Drive without music. Eat a meal without looking at your phone. Take a walk without headphones. Notice what emerges. Notice the resistance. Notice how quickly your hand reaches for a device when you feel even a moment of boredom. That reflex tells you everything about how much control the noise has over you. When you finally eliminate the noise, even partially, something miraculous happens. You start making decisions that actually align with who you are. You stop living on autopilot. You reconnect with intuition, with creativity, with the parts of yourself that only speak in whispers. You become the author of your life instead of just a character reacting to everyone else's script. These 7 eliminations are not a one-time event. They're a practice, a daily choice to protect your peace, your energy, your truth. And the beauty of doing it silently is that you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need permission. You don't need support. You just quietly remove what doesn't serve you and watch your life transform from the inside out.